Okay, so I've just taken the dogs for their evening walk, and I thought I'd do the blog because I'm not going to have much chance later. Hopefully I can do it in one take because I don't have much time to edit. Okay, this one's about my family. Well, as you probably know by now, I live in Fuerteventura with my wife Sue. We've been together 25 years this May, the 1st, and we've been married for the last 7.5. Also live here with these two rascals, don't know if you can see them there, Oscar and Jensen. And we've had Oscar for 3 years and we've had Jensen for about 18 months. The other members of my family, I have a son, Richard, who's 31, and in fact he's getting married towards the end of May, so we're going back to the UK for that. It'll be my first trip back to the UK for almost 2 years. I don't relish the thought of going back normally, but this is a special occasion, so I'm looking forward to that. Unfortunately, both my parents are now dead. My dad died nearly 22 years ago of prostate cancer. It was a long drawn out death, unfortunately, not the way if I had a choice I'd want to go. He was always quite a big man, probably weighed 240, 250 pounds most of his life, and I would guess that by the time he died he probably weighed no more than 100 pounds. I don't like to remember him like that. I like to remember him doing things like shouting for the horses he'd put money on and what have you. My mum, she died almost 10 years ago, 9.5 years ago, and that was totally sudden and unexpected. She'd always been well, fit and healthy. She was 76. The way I found out was perhaps even more of a shock than it would have been for most people. I was in the police force at the time as a special. Monday morning, we just had a knock on the door, opened the door, and it was a police officer that I used to crew with, that I knew quite well. I thought he'd just come round for a cup of tea, because sometimes they did, or that he just needed some paperwork from me from when we were on duty a week or two before. Anyway, he came in, sat me down, and told me my mum died. And that was probably was the biggest shock of my life. Most people, if there's a police officer at the door, they immediately think, oh dear, what's happened, what's wrong? But, that wasn't the case with me. It wasn't unusual to have a police officer at the door. So, anyway, she died at home. She'd only been home from staying with us for a few days and was coming back again, in fact, 2 or 3 days later. We pieced it together, and she'd obviously been out in the garden doing some weeding, sitting on her gardening stool, and it turned out she had a massive bleed in the brain, an aneurysm, and died instantly there in the garden. Unfortunately, she wasn't found until Monday, when her neighbour noticed the window was still open, and he had a key, and he came in and found her in the garden. And he didn't know where I lived or have a phone number for me. He just knew my name, and fortunately he knew I was a special with Northants Police, so he told the police sergeant that came round to deal with my mum's sudden death, and they traced me through Northants Police, who sent somebody round to tell me. So that was a big shock, but it's certainly the way I'd prefer to go if I had a choice. And I've got 2 brothers, Dave, who unfortunately has Parkinson's now. He's about 2 years younger than me, and James, who's about 8 years younger than me, who lives in Bournemouth. The only other close relative I've got is the last one of my parents' generation left, and that's my Uncle Norm, who lives in Canada, lives in Vancouver Island with his wife Dorothy. Unfortunately, he recently had a stroke, but he does seem to be recovering okay from that. And that's my family. Okay, so thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you tomorrow. Bye.